Hello, this is Steve from Beto's Leatherworks. Today's project is these beautiful pair of shell cordovan Alden boots. Now, this one, we're going to do something a little different today. The customer wants a little narrower heel, almost like a 270 style. He doesn't like the bulkiness of the heel being so wide like that on the back. So what we're going to do, we're going to take everything off the bottom. We're going to put a new welt on. Got some issues going on here anyway. We're going to put a new flat welt on. We're going to put leather midsoles. We're going to trim the back of the heel like a 270, make it narrower, and only stitch it from here all the way to the toe to here. So we're not going to stitch it 360 all the way in the back just like we have it, but we will re-welt it like a 360, just make it narrow around the heel to give it a narrower profile. He wants that. He doesn't want that bulky look of the boots. All right, let's get started. Today is a rainy day today. They were calling for some snows, but I guess they'll tell you what the weather is after the fact, right? So we're going to do day-night soles on these again. A little bit smaller heel, I think. This is a little bit too large. The holes are on the edge, a little closer. And most of the time these day-nights are resoled or reheeled. You really don't need, there's no need to nail these. There's nothing in the holes. There's no metal washers in there, so the nails don't hold on to anything. So every time I see somebody nailing day-night heels, it's not necessary. It's really unnecessary. As usual, we've got this piece of the heel base is leather, but this one is fiberboard. We're going to put leather heel bases on. I mean, it's crap, man. Anyway, it is what it is. It's okay. Now, these were sold fairly recently. As you can see, he didn't have much wear on there. But the craftsmanship is sure. Granted, this could have happened, after he started wearing it, but you got to make sure that the welt is secured before you put the soles on. It says hand stitched, hand benched, and hand finished by craftsman. Okay, it looks and sounds good on the inner sole, but the work says otherwise. See, you can tell a lot about a person's personality by the work that they do. For example, look at all the nails are on this heel. Now, I guess if the person had OCD, like me, it would be equally distanced and equally spaced. Just to give you an example, I mean, it's structural and also it is aesthetics also. I know you can't see it, but it's something inside you that you got to want to be able to do in order to do it correctly so you can sleep at night, like me. Anyway, all right, let's continue. Yep. Again with the fiberboard. Now it looks like these guys put a little bit of a felt as a filler, but unfortunately didn't remove all the bumpy old cork. So that doesn't make any sense. You can't put something on top of that because when the customer steps on this bumpy, he's going to feel that. So all that's got to be cleared out before you put any fillers. It's okay they used felt, but they didn't do it properly, unfortunately. Now, Alden does this cool thing where they have a canvas on top of the footbed, right in that cavity here, and then they stitch it on here, stitch the welt on, and then fill it in with cork. Most of the time when you have that little piece that bridges that two together from the sides, even though if the footbed gemming comes loose, that canvas keeps the shoe or the boot together and doesn't allow it to come loose and change the size of it. And that's the canvas I'm talking about right there. That's kind of cool. So we'll put a new piece on here before we re-welt the entire boot again. I removed this because it's a lot easier to remove it one piece like this than try to sand that cork off. It's very time consuming for it to be able to clean all that off. We'll start with a nice fresh piece of canvas and restitch the welt on. All right, so most of the time I've shown you guys like how we do the 270-degree welts and change them to 360 welt. There's some customers want to do the opposite. Okay, they want to go from 360 to 270. They don't want that wide heel base. Now the 270-degree welt starts from the ankle bone here, goes around the toe, comes back to the other side of the ankle bone, and the uppers are simply turned in and nailed. And you can put a small, this is called a heel rand. It just makes it look like the welt is continuous, that goes all the way around, okay? Sometimes what people will do on the 270-degree welts, they'll get a heel rand a little bit wider and run a stitch on it, which looks like the welt is continuous all the way around to give it that wide heel stance, because they want to make it look like it's a 360-degree welt. So with today's job, we're going to do the complete opposite. Now we're going to stitch it on like it's a 360 welt, okay? But once we get to putting the sole on, we're going to trim that back of the heel to make it look like it's just a thin piece of heel rand, but you still have the structural support of a welt stitched on that goes all the way around. And once we put the soles on and stitch it from here to here, the back piece won't have any stitch on it. It'll look like that almost. A little bit narrower than what it was, what the customer wants. So that's what we're doing now. We're converting visually from 360 to 270. However, it still has the 360 construction to give it that structural support. Nice stitched on welt. I hope I made that clear. All right, let's continue. just a heavy canvas that I use. Now it's time to start re-welting. So I put a silver mark right there at the existing holes to show you guys that's where it needs to be stitched whenever you're restitching, whenever you're putting a welt on. So you come from the outside here, you make sure the hole's lined up. You really should put it through the same holes when you're restitching a welt on. You don't want to put more holes into the uppers if you don't have to. Through the magic of video, we are done with putting the whatchamacallits on, welts on. I was going to say lasts. All right, beautiful. She is ready for some cork and shank and midsole and soles, heel base and top lift, and we are done. All right, let's continue.
Here you go, boss.
Thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Like it's okay if it's not we can iterate later.
Now normally 360-degree welts, we don't secure the back of the heel like this with nails, because when it's stitched together, it's securing it. But since we don't have those stitches, we're going to have to put something here, like the nails, to secure that together, to secure back of the heel to the footbed. And that should be secure enough. So we put it through the leather midsole instead of, once we put the soles on, instead of putting it on top of the soles. Because in the future, when somebody's getting ready to resole, they could just remove this. They don't have to mess with that. And then when this comes on, we'll secure it again with the leather heel base, securing that to the midsole, and that heel base should be secured. So we're getting there, making progress. All right, let's continue. Now, putting the sole on gets a bit tricky depending on the shape of the shoe, okay? Because you've got the studded pattern and you've got to be able to center it on the shoe. Also, you've got the name, day night. You've got to be able to center it in the middle of the sole. You can just slap it on there and stitch it and be done with it, but that's not a good idea when you're working with day night, especially if the shoe is not the similar shape as the sole. You've got to make sure you've got enough on the sides, and also make sure that sole, that wording is in the center on the shank area here. Well, once you got everything together, it's hammer time. All right, we are making progress. All right, so we're getting ready to stitch the soles. We're going to do very small, well, not very small, but SPI, we call it stitch per inch. We're going to maybe do about maybe about 8, I would say. I think it's going to add a little bit of more class to it if we do a little smaller thread size. Alright. Okay, very nice. I think it looks good with the smaller thread size. Cool. Whenever your sandpaper's old, it burns the leather. You see that dark areas? So you have to rough that up in order for the heel to get secured on, if I can talk today, in order for the heel to hold to the leather base. So whenever, we call it burning, whenever the leather burns, you've got to scrape it up. This is a scraper. Okay, very sharp. I only use this tool just to rough up the surface of the leather when it gets burned. That's really about it. Now we're going to put threaded nails to secure the heel base in. And then we get to glue the top lift to the leather heel base. And that's about it. We're almost in the home run. Oh, by the way, for those of you who've been following the plight of my buddy who just disappeared, well, guess who called me last night? Yes, sir. Luba called me. He's okay. Thank God. He's alive. That's all I care for. He had some issues that he had to deal with. And hopefully he'll be back as soon as he can. So it really doesn't matter. I mean, I'd love him to come back. Of course, I miss him dearly. But, you know, if he's got to do what he's got to do to get his shit together, I'd rather have him do that first. Just thought I'd let you guys know. All right. We got the proper inner soles now. These are from Alden. And since it's gray interior, it'll match the shoe perfectly. Check it out. Looks good. All right. Almost done. All right, welcome back. We are done with another project. I think these turned out really cool. I think just the idea of making them a lot sleeker looking and making it a little narrower around the heel, the width of the heel, changes the whole boot dramatically. We went from a 3.5-inch wide heel to 3 inches, half an inch difference, which makes a lot of difference when you're looking at it visually. It's a lot narrower and sleeker than what it was. All right, well, thanks again for joining me. I appreciate it. Comment, share, thumbs up. We'd greatly appreciate it to move the channel forward a bit. And if you guys have any questions, you can email me, bedos@yahoo.com, bedos@yahoo.com. Now, I've got a bunch of emails I got to attend to, I got to get to, so be patient. Sometimes they go in the spam. I don't see them right away, but I'll do my best to answer them as best as possible. All right. Thanks again for joining me. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys again on the next project. Take care.